Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Dr. Cammy Goes Keto, where I'm transitioning from a standard American diet to a ketogenic lifestyle and getting some carnivore in there, although I've been eating non-carnivore things. But I'm here with Mike Collins, who is the sugar-free man. He's helped tens of thousands of people get off of sugar, and I'm so grateful to have you here, Mike, helping me through this transition because I know that you're experienced, and one of the things that I pride myself on is that when I need help, I try to find good people to help me. You know, I'm not afraid to ask for help. I'm not afraid to get help, and I try to find the best people to surround myself with to help me. So thank you so much for being here to help me.
Hey, it's a pleasure. It's an honor, actually. I'm really enjoying it. You're such a hard worker and putting in the time. It's so much makes it so much easier. So
Well,
keep it up.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I do. I work hard, and one of the things that my the thoughts in my head are working on right now is that I am on day 88 today of no sugar, no flour, and no caffeine, and I had made a 90-day commitment. So that's obviously coming up in 2 days on Friday, and I am terrified of it, just terrified. It's building up and building up and building up in my head about what am I going to do. Oh, and I made a 90-day commitment, and I'm going to make that 90-day commitment, which honestly at the beginning I wasn't sure I would be able to pull that off. I really didn't think I could make 90 days, but I was highly motivated at the beginning, and I think my why has been strong enough, and so I'm going to do it. And so now comes the next day, right? Day 91 on Saturday, when I'm thinking that, I'll already have my house stocked with all these items to go and, quote, celebrate, right? And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I mean, part of me wants to taste that food again. But when I think about like how superficial tasting the food is, yes, it would taste really good for a short amount of time, and then that would be it. You know what I do so I'm trying to sit here and convince myself not to eat off plan food, right? Because when I stay on plan, I have all these benefits, right? Like I get my metabolic health in order. I have energy. I sleep better. I feel better during the day. My skin looks better. I feel good about myself. I've lost like 18 pounds in 90 days. It might be closer to 20. I'm not sure. I don't weigh in on time because of the holidays. But so I won't weigh in until the 17th of January. But yeah, I don't want to do it. And today I went to get my acupuncture, and I was talking to the secretary there who signs me out. She's really nice. And she was talking about how she has decided she's going to learn how to have all foods fit, like in moderation with the sugar and the things.
Right.
And, she looks good. She doesn't have a ton of weight to lose or anything, but I know that she's unhappy with the body that she has. And I know that she wants to lose weight. And so I was thinking about that today, and I thought, I don't want to be like that anymore. I want to keep going. I want to be making progress toward my goals. And when you get that crappy food in there, it doesn't do that. It backfires. And like even now, my body's pretty sensitive now with this 90 days of no crap in it. And when I eat, like, I can tell, like, when I eat half a yam, a little bit of yam, that my ketones don't go up, then, my ketones drop the next day. And, I can feel a little bit metabolically just by eating half a yam that has those carbohydrates in it. But I like that, and that's to me feeling like it could be enough of a celebration or whatever. Like I'll eat things on my food plan that have more carbs in them than I can eat. I can eat one thing maybe every day. Like maybe I'll have, a little handful of blueberries on my cottage cheese. And then that's the carbs that I get for the day. And then maybe the next day I could have, a rice cake and a little bit of nuts, borderline foods, but I'm still handling it with the borderline foods because I've been on this 90-day thing, right? And so I'm really terrified that when the 90 days come, either one, I'm going to screw it up and eat off plan and then be on a roll and gain all my 20 pounds back plus 20 more. Or two, I'm going to eat off plan and just continue to struggle to get back on track, and or three, just be torturing myself as I try to stay on plan. And I don't want to do any of those things. And so I'm like, okay, look, I have a choice here, right? I have a choice as to what I put in my mouth to eat. And I feel like the eating disorder is, like this crave for this sugar is like, it's like heroin to me, Mike. It really is. And I'm terrified of it. I don't want to throw all this work away.
I feel it. I mean, I can empathize with how you're feeling. We've talked about it before, but it's very, very common at these mile markers, at these junctions or these goals, that people get nervous and fall back. And I think we've said in AA or recovery from drugs and alcohol, that 360 to 365 is a dangerous time. I mean, people just, they relapse, for a lot of reasons. But I think the one main thing that it is they can't yet see themselves as a sober person. In this case, you can't yet see yourself as a sugar-free person. You can't. It's difficult with the pull of the biology of the disrupted dopamine system. And again, gang, when I say dopamine, I mean dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, GABA, oxytocin, adrenal glands, cannabinoid receptors, all of the brain and body reward chemicals. You can't yet see yourself using that system of delivery. And that's what it is. You use a needle for heroin, you use smoke for marijuana, whatever. You snort cocaine. Those are delivery systems. The delivery system for the sugar is your mouth, and the craving comes through the mouth, and you start thinking about it, and you can almost visualize it and taste it and whatever. But you have to start, I think you've got a little bit of noise quieting. It's not as instant gratification-y. You don't really have to run out when you have a craving. You can kind of think about it, walk the dog, go for a run or whatever. You can do something different because you have time, you have peace, you have a gap. That gap is, okay, I had the thought, I had the craving, but I've got 88 freaking days. I've lost 20 pounds. I'm not going back. And one of the small goals I think you can, it is a little bit of self-deception, like the one we've used for addiction for many, many years. It's like, why don't I just try and go 30 more days, right? Or better yet, if you can get in the habit of it, why don't I just go one more day? Why don't I just go this weekend? And usually that turns into years if you do it right, if you keep persisting on it. And this is another place where, like the first 10 days, there is a little bit of willpower and muscling involved, right? There's not yet to peace, and you have to be the AA phrase is eternally vigilant. You have to be anything that resembles an attempt to use means a phone call to me or Nikki or somebody like that. It means getting the journal out. It means, look, I've taken phone calls from midnight to 6 in the morning before, for crack houses all over the Bay Area. It's not, and I'm sure Nikki would be the same way, or there's 15, 20 other people in the group that would take the phone call in this time period, and if you were brave enough to, like you're doing right now, warn them in advance, tell them, look, I may be bugging you this weekend, and you get through it. And then all of a sudden it's just one day. And you just keep doing one day, or set a new goal, whichever works for you, whichever you like better. I would do a combination of the two. And but I mean, I'd say you've come so far, and I'm not going to get into a motivational speech about rah rah rah. I want to address all of your fears, all of your concerns before we leave this podcast. I want to make sure that, you know, even if your ass is falling off, you're not going to reach for sugar or ultra processed carbohydrates. That you're convinced, at least intellectually now, maybe if you don't have it 100% viscerally and emotionally yet, that at least intellectually, which now has a little, again, space, gap, time to rationally walk through the whole thing. Oh man, it would be nice to have whatever. And then, oh wow, I got 89 days and I got freaking, 20 pounds down and I'm not going back. I'm calling Nikki, I'm calling Mike, whatever. And so you've got to have that firmly in your intellect. Again, it's not, as you said earlier when you started, it's not firmly in your emotional life yet, but it will be. I guarantee it will be if you keep building new neural pathways, keep doing all that you've been doing, which is everything. You've done everything right as far as getting here. So, yeah, I mean, the one thing about this is there are no magic wands or pills. This is the time where, again, I don't want to be, Tony Robbins, dig deep and get through it kind of thing. But there is some part of this is that, I think if you repeat it like an affirmation over and over again intellectually, then it'll start sinking down to your heart and your gut, like this is really me. I am a sugar-free person. And it took me 13 years to get through medical school. And this is only another 13 months to just see where I land weight-wise, health-wise, like that. So, again, you've done hard things. You've birthed children. You've lost children. You've done hard things. And this, one of the interesting
This
things.
is up there. I can tell you, this is up there with those things.
I know. One of the things that I've been researching lately, and I heard Huberman saying it, is I think it's the mid amygdala or mid brain or something. I think there's a function in the brain, but it's kind of a David Goggins kind of Jocko Willis kind of thing. That when you do hard things, there's that section of the brain grows. It gets bigger. You do things you really don't want to do, and that section, and then you're able to do more difficult things, hard things. So, yeah, I mean, I often tell the story that I spent the first half of my life trying to get out of work, even in recovery, and I'm spending the second half of my life doing the hard things to figure out, what my range is. How hard of a thing can I do if I really want it? And I know you're not a liar. You're not a deceptor. You're not fooling yourself. In your heart, you really want this intellectually. And I know while it hasn't reached your emotional life yet or your automatic feelings that you are a sugar-free person yet, it will. I guarantee it will. Where you can go anywhere in the world, you can do anything in the world, and never think about it for a year or two. You never have a craving. And that's probably seems unrealistic right now, but it's very true.
Yeah, yeah. No, I could see how that would be true. So, two things that come to mind is that I don't identify, because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, Nikki and I just did a video that didn't turn out because we lost the sound. We're going to have to do it again. I'm having troubles with my studio. But on New Year's resolutions and how you shouldn't, and how really what you need to do is get an identity. You need to get a new identity to have it stick, and you need to have your systems in place, and you need to, do small daily actions that are going to make it toward that thing instead of making these big things, I'm going to lose 50 pounds and, this crazy stuff that doesn't ever work. And so I don't see myself, I do not identify with myself yet as a sugar-free person, but I could see how that could happen. And my guess is it takes probably 1 to 2 years for me to really identify with myself that way. I don't know. I mean, maybe after this 90-day hump, after I get over this, things will really quiet down a lot and we'll see what happens. But at 30 days, I remember a bump in the road. I'm like, oh my God, 30 days. And, I had a couple of days there that were kind of rough. And then I was right back on track. So I know I can do it with God's help too. I mean, that's the other thing is that I pull in a higher power, and that's really helpful for me because then I don't feel like I'm alone. I don't feel I'm, doing it on my own completely. But the other thing that happens is that I've been thinking about the voices in my head that say these terrible, awful things about me. Like, like you're such a, like I used to hear a lot louder, right? I used to hear them a lot louder. You can't do it. You're a loser. People see you one way, but that you're really another way. Or, just these crazy making talk that goes on in my head. And that for so long I would act on it. Not that I necessarily believed it, but I would act on it with sugar to calm the masses, to just shut those voices down, to be like, shut up and be quiet. But those voices are less because I've done work on self-esteem and self-love and my affirmations and acceptance and surrender. And, I've done all that. I've done some work in the meantime, certainly since I was younger. I've been in therapy since medical school. And then also over the last 30 days, and that's why I'm really grateful that I can do these podcasts because I'm hoping that it helps others, and I think it does, but it really helps me. The other day I was telling Nikki, I'm selfish, I'm an addict. I'm going to do stuff that's going to make me feel better. So those voices that are degrading myself inside my head are getting better with time slowly. And I think that, that's going to just get better and better. But, there is it takes a lot of strength and it takes a lot of support from other people, from God, from, myself, from your environment, from, everything, because the world is out there with, sugar on every corner. And that's what makes it so different than heroin. The heroin, you kind of got to go get it. You have to know where to go get it. The sugar, it just kind of comes to you when you walk in the store.
It's always there. It,
Yeah.
it is more difficult. I think, and I don't want to go too macro on you, but I think when you really get in your heart that this is just an evolutionary wrong turn and that this is a drug and that probably in our lifetime, but definitely not too distant future, we'll have the diagnostic tools to prove that this is a drug that affects whatever section of the brain that is as powerful an addictive substance as any that ever mentioned on the planet. And when you kind of, there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can call it your drug food. You can call it not my food anymore. Not food at all is what I would prefer. It's not something that goes in your mouth, just not something, you should have in your mouth. And when you cross that bridge, you have a risk. Like people call me sometimes that people think you're a zealot or that, some of the behavioral change people in the recovery world think that moderation or that you need to be able to moderate. I think that's not a depth of understanding or a depth of research or definitely not a depth of working with enough people to realize that some people just can't ingest this product. And genuinely, I believe in my heart that the other people who look like they can are struggling. They're struggling in a way that is semi-invisible, even if it's only the 5 pounds. They are struggling, and I think that it interrupts their sleep, it interrupts a lot of their life, but they're just used to it and it's not that bad, you know? Like now, I think this is a good time in history simply because what's coming out in the research, you know, there have always been these things where a glass of wine at dinner, a couple of glasses of wine a week or two or three. It's becoming very evident that zero alcohol is the right choice and that every drink is damaging, right? And I think sugar will get there. I think it's already there for me personally, but it's going to take a while to get there. And I think once you relieve yourself of, you know, understanding, it's almost like believing in God. You know, you have to believe in something in this life. And if this is, you know, by all indications, now you can correct me if I'm wrong and you can do it any way you want, but for me, all indications point to what I just said being true, that this is not a product that belongs in the human body. Forget about the culture that it came up in, forget about the sweet taste, forget about anything. It's not a product that belongs in the human body. You know, Dr. Lustig calls it a vestigial product, which means there is no function in the human body that requires fructose. There is glucose, and people kind of run off at the fruit thing and that they're getting some glucose. But the fructose is the thing that's causing the problems, the half of the molecule that's causing the problems. It's like your appendix. There's no known use for the appendix, and there's no known use for this product in the human body. Again, what I'm doing like a good therapist is I'm going to try and give you every angle, every bit of ammunition and information for you to refute the feelings that you're having, because now you have time. You have a few minutes, probably a few hours if you're honest, where a craving hits and you're having a shitty day or whatever, and you really want to use that product to numb it out. You know, even if you just walk through it, that, Cammy, you just, you know, had a bad day at the gym and you just want this and that, you know. Big deal you had a bad day, you know what I mean? You have
Yeah,
time to
yeah,
rationalize it, you have time to call someone. That phrase in recovery and alcohol and drugs is think it all the way through. Think it
yeah.
through the hangover, think it through the DWI, think it through the, you know,
Your kid's not talking to you.
yeah, think it all the way through, right? And extrapolate it out into the future, to the weight, to the diabetes, to everything, you know?
Yeah,
That's hard when you're in the moment and you want it.
yeah. I understand how to do that with the alcohol, and it is harder for me to do it with the food. And, you know, like one of my biggest fears about the last 90 days is that I just kind of put my cravings on hold because I've had less cravings, right? I'm on that Zepbound. I've had less cravings. When I do have a craving, I'll eat, you know, a couple of bites of yam or something. I don't, you know, and so I I'm afraid, you know, one of my fears is that like I just kind of held them all together like I did when I was drinking. When I would drink, I would hold all these fresh, I was a binge drinker at the end because I couldn't drink at work or go to work drunk or be hungover or anything like that. So I would only drink on Fridays when I was home with my kids. They didn't have preschool and I didn't have to drive them anywhere and I was post call. So I had no responsibilities for work. So I
Mhm.
would drink all my frustrations away that the world would put on me, that I would put on myself, obviously, but maybe not so obvious to some people, but you know, I was doing it myself. And then I would drink them all away. And so I'm just really afraid that I've like just bundled up all of my cravings in this nice little package so that then on day 89 and three quarters they can start creeping out, and by day, you know, the end of day 90 they're full force out there, and I just won't be strong enough to say no.
I get it. But you have a lot of tools.
I
I'll be, I'll,
do.
I'll be by the phone on Friday. I like the phrase, it's a little bit kind of simplistic. It's just Friday. It's not 90 anything. It's just Friday.
I know, and it's just
And
another
you've
day.
had
And
what?
that's
90 days, you've had 10 or 12 Fridays already, 12, 11 Fridays already.
and part of me is just like, Cammy, it's just going to be another day. You've done what you've been doing. You can keep doing what you're doing. It's not like I'm
Yeah,
going to run out of healthy food. It's not like I don't have the opportunity to keep doing what I've been doing. I have all the opportunity in the world.
right. Yep, yep. Again, sometimes, at least this works for me better, or it works as well for me. Sometimes it, we have a hard time giving ourselves grace. And in conjunction with that, if I'm to offer you some where, like, I think you're doing amazing, incredible stuff. I've told you many times, I think that the work that you're doing with the GLP-1 in combination will be in the history books because, I've interviewed 58 of the people for the summit already now, or 56 or something. I don't know, what, a lot. And somehow organically, everyone in the metabolic industry, everyone that I would say 80%, let's say 80, about 80% of the people, about three quarters to 80% of the way through every interview, I don't bring it up like it's a mystic thing. They all bring up GLP-1s. There's going to be some kind of whatever, comeuppance, use it better, use it like Suboxone. You know, you're tackling a lot here. You're really tackling a lot of stuff. The traditional abstinence-based recovery from food addiction or sugar addiction, whatever, the Zepbound, the weight loss. So there's a lot here, and I'm here to tell you that you're amazing and you're doing incredible things for yourself and the world. And you have to internalize that, which again, I know how hard it is, hard for me even now. But you have to take as much of it as you're able to take and believe it in your heart, because I do. And I've worked, I don't like to say this, but I've worked with a lot of failures. I mean, I've worked with people who have resources, they have time, they have everything they need, but they just can't continue, which belies the power of the drug. It doesn't belie the power of anything else. It's not your lack of willpower or willingness, it's the power of the drug. Excuse my French, but fuck heroin, fuck cocaine. When the history books are written, it's going to be sugar that was the most difficult to get off. Because over 500 people in recovery from alcohol and drugs in our communities have said the same thing to me. Sober 10 years, sober 5 years. I quit heroin. I used to be injectable. I used to be a speed freak, whatever. 100 different ways to abuse drugs. Every single one of them, from man and woman, sugar was harder for them. True story. So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
just, you're in the middle of it and you're doing great. So
Well, thank you. I thank you for that acknowledgement. I'm a hard worker and I've been trying hard. I've been working hard. I've been successful. And so I was thinking about that the other day, like yesterday. I was thinking about what could be harder than getting ready to just continue this life. And the thing that I came up with, which really might be harder, is weaning off of the Zepbound. Like when I
I
make it
agree
just
with that. I agree with that.
when I feel like I almost feel like it's like trading one addiction for another. I mean, when I feel like I identify with myself as a person who doesn't eat sugar. And I'm not sure when that's going to happen. My guess is probably getting past this 90 days is going to be a huge one. And within the next 3 to 6 months after that, I'm guessing that I feel like, hey, I can do this life without sugar and be perfectly fine, and let's start weaning off the Zepbound. My biggest fear is that I'm going to be hungry. I'm going to be hungry and I'm
Hunger's
going to
not
want
that
to eat.
bad.
I'm going to want to eat, I'm going to want to volumize my food, not sugar. I wouldn't be eating sugar, but I would just be volumizing and eating too much food and either not getting the rest of the weight off that I want to get off, or, not keeping the weight off.
Being hungry is not that big a deal. It is, I think, in your place and from your past, but being hungry is not that big a deal. One of the most important long-term health protocols is to eat dinner before 5 or 6 and then not eat until you go to bed. Most of the time at 10 o'clock at night or 10:30 at night, you're a little hungry again, or you think you're a little hungry again, but you just say to yourself, I know I'm going to sleep better. I know I'm going to get up earlier. I know I'm going to be healthier long term. I know my intermittent fast will be 12 hours. I'm going to do it. And you just kind of, and then you're on to the next thing. That's about as
Yeah.
hard as it is. You feel it, a little bit, but
Well, that brings up the idea of, fasting with a eating disorder. Some people are really against that and don't think that's such a great idea, and that I should be eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day for the rest of my life.
right.
And I don't know if I agree with that, because like when I do some fasting, I am hungry and I am thinking, well, this is okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm on the Zepbound, but I still do get hungry, and the chatter starts, oh, it's time to eat. Oh, you haven't eaten. Oh, what are you going to put in your mouth? Oh, da, 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 da. And it's just a way to say, calm down. I'm totally fine. Everything's good. I mean, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? I think I was trying to do a 48-hour fast, and I made it to 21 hours. But during that time, I was totally fine. I got hungry, and then I would just do something else. I would go take a nap, or I went for a walk, or I, got on my bike and watched the Taylor Swift Eras concert.
For you, something for you. That's good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to take a break from all that going, walking and biking and.
No, I watched it on my Peloton
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, that's good.
because it makes the time go by really fast.
Right.
Yeah, but so yeah, but that whole segment, once I really see myself as an identity of someone who doesn't eat sugar, which I can do for the next week, it's going to be interesting to see how tapering off of that goes, because some people just think you're going to need to be on it forever.
I'm super excited to help walk you through it. I think that's again a history making, in that nobody knows the answers on that one yet. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
And there will be, I think. I think we've talked. Well, we did. We spent almost a whole episode on this. Like, whatever's going on in the brain that's quieting the food noise or the desire to drink or gamble or whatever other addiction you got going on, um, that's going to be what the withdrawal is going to be. It's not going to be that it makes you less hungry or whatever. It's going to be like, oh, now there's a little more noise that I didn't have before.
Well, I think there's going to be more noise, and I think I'm going to be hungrier. I think I'll have a growling stomach, and I'll salivate, and I'll do, like physical things.
Well, one of the things about having nothing is you start to realize that there are foods you can eat that never growl your stomach. Like dairy always growls my stomach, or not, and it doesn't really growl anymore, but I can feel the hunger pang the next morning if I've had dairy. But if I don't have dairy, then I don't have that, So you start to make other adjustments that work for you.
Yeah, yeah. I am eating less dairy than I have in the past,
Right.
but I'm still eating some dairy.
Yeah, dairy for me anyway. And I think for a lot of people, it's on our borderlines foods list. Is it does create, because it has the touch of carbs, enough carbs, and the what do you call it, the casomorphine, which I think one of the conclusions, a few of the speakers that I'm interviewing now are like, we are so sensitive. Humans are so sensitive. If you think about a Native American tracker, right? You think about this guy, he's out in the woods, he's all by himself. He's either hunting the food or the enemy or whatever. And I relate with these guys. But anyway, what I'm saying is like, they feel the wind. They can smell the bear 5 miles away. They can hear the hooves of whatever, miles away. And they can smell their feces. And, we are, we're so much more sensitive, and we've had to block it a lot because of modern society. And the whole vagus nerve, rest and digest versus what is it, fight or flight. It's we're always on, we're always kind of in fight or flight. A shitty email and a whatever, a bad text or a phone call or whatever, it's just always on. And when we go to zero, which includes sugar and flour, when we go to not having that many excitatory neurons going blasting, a little fireworks display in your brain, we have another issue to deal with, which is either boredom or cravings to bring you back to the fireworks in your brain. And, I think the digital detox stuff is going to be popular in the future. But that also includes, foods and that stuff, sex and screens and whatever. I don't know. It's just, I just want to like make sure that before we leave, that you have the tools for the next 2 days, that you have phone numbers and you have, everything you need. You actually probably could write it out in your journal. What
Yeah.
happens if? What happens if?
Yeah.
Because you've got to go to a store right now. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time refuting 88 days worth of work.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the house. And not only do you have to go to a store, you have to go there without using your phone to call anybody. And so that's 40 minutes or half an hour at least just to get there.
No, it's 6 minutes. It's
Oh, yeah.
close.
I wish you hadn't told me that. I wish you didn't know it. I
See,
believe
this is
it.
how my food brain works. It's like, oh,
I
it's
know.
6.5 minutes, 6 minutes and 42 seconds from door to door. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
knows. It's it's just crazy making shit that it does all day long. But
But think about
I,
how much peace you'll have when you don't have that.
God, yeah, I was hoping I would have more stuff happening by 90 days. I was hoping that the cravings would be better. I was hoping that which they are. I did say in here they are. So the cravings are definitely better, but I'm still really wanting a cup of coffee. I mean, the caffeine is still the biggest one for me. I mean,
I
I would,
honestly believe that that's, most of your problem, genuinely, because of everybody's blend of the two together. It's so perfect. Such a nice buzz, such a nice high.
the
Why do you
sugar
think
with the
most of the
caffeine.
world starts the day with it?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, talk about delivery systems for methamphetamines. It's like you get the sugar, it's an excuse to use the sugar or the creamer or the cream or whatever. And now you get the both of them. Beautiful. The
yeah,
world, and look, you've rested all night, maybe even fasted, but you've rested all night. And so whatever is left in your poor dopamine receptors is going to get pushed out for the whole day's supply in 20 minutes. The whole day's supply is going to be gone in 20 minutes. And all you're going to be doing for the rest of your waking day is to chase that buzz, that sitting on the patio or at your kitchen table, feeling all is right with the world. I'm okay. And that shit only lasts 20 minutes. And then you're back on the hamster wheel.
yeah. And the thing is if you're off of it, like I've had lots of moments like that without this stuff in my system over the last 88
There you
days. I
go.
mean, a lot of moments where I've been like, God, this is really great. And like, I just went to acupuncture this morning, and you sit for an hour. He puts the needles in and he leaves you, and you're just sitting in there in this wonderful, like, anti-gravity chair,
Sure.
and you're so comfortable. And I said, oh, this is a perfect opportunity for me to practice meditation. So I was breathing in, and then I was saying thank you thoughts for coming into me. Thank you, thoughts, for coming into me. And as the thoughts would come in, I would just imagine like I was a permeable membrane and they were just phasing out through the back of me.
Love
They
it.
were just, they were coming in and I was sinking them, and then they were phasing out. And he didn't leave my watch on. He asked me to take my Apple Watch off. And usually I have it on, so like after about 45 minutes, I can start watching the clock. I couldn't watch the clock, so I'm like, I'm just SOL. I'm in here for an hour doing this. And after about 50 minutes, I was like, okay, I'm just going to think my thoughts, and I let myself think my thoughts. But it was good
Hey, that's good.
practice.
That's a good practice. 50, and that's
It
what it
was
is.
really
That's the
good.
word. That's the right word. Practices. Getting these practices in.
Yeah,
These
yeah.
vagus nerve calming practices.
Well, I tell you, Mike, I am feeling so much better now than I did when we started this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like I do have hope, and I do have tools, and it is entirely possible, as a matter of fact, probable, that I can, make it through this transition, which I figure, I don't know, might be 4 days, 5 days, might be longer, before the voices quiet down, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to keep doing this.
So I have a question before we go. I want to ask, and I want you to choose because this is important. Do you want to set another 90-day goal, another 30-day goal, another 1 week goal, another day goal, or do you just want to? And there's no right answer. I'm not trying to trick you. It's not a trick question. Like, do you just want to focus on the rest of today, and then tomorrow focus on that day, and then not even, it's not the 90 days Friday, it's just Friday. Like which way or would you feel better from your way of accomplishing things? Which way would you feel better with?
Okay, that's an excellent question. And what I'm thinking is another 30 days. Like, let's see what happens, because this is building up. This is like building up in me, and I can feel over the last 48 hours I've been like, oh my God, it's coming. What am I going to do? Oh my God, I don't want to screw this up. So let me get through that and get another 30 days, and then just see, because what I'd like to do in the next 30 days is maybe try to work on seeing my new identity as a sugar-free person.
Well, I just had something pop while you were talking, and it's like, we had a good webinar last night. Likely at least 100, maybe 200 new people are going to be in the community. Honestly, at 90 days, you're a vet, and you're also going through the January, just plugging in and helping the next guy, helping the next person, saying, I was where you were 90 days ago. Just that, just say it. And that's it every day. Or just count your, like, I know she probably listens to this, but, people have counted their days in the community, right? They put a post and they count it. Do it. You know what I mean? Think of little tricks like that. You would help so many people. Let's be honest, I mean, you're a doctor and you like helping people. You know what I mean? And that gives you that service component, that outside of yourself component. That there's a lot to that, to helping others. You know what I mean? So maybe think of that if you want. Yeah. Right. And I guarantee there's going to be, I don't want to say this is your specialty. I'll let you do this, but like, there's going to be some people in there on GLP-1s, and you could advise there, at least from your experience and as a physician. So there's a lot of benefit to that whole gym in January effect. The like everybody wants to start in January. You won't be starting. You will not be starting. You will be, I don't want to say an old vet. You will be for in that community for this month. There you go. There you go. All right, I better hear from you. All right, see you. Bye bye.